All right, so yeah, like I said, Kitsap Sun editorial board here, talking to Jack Carroll, just running for the 23rd district. And, welcome, and what I always do is why don't you take a few minutes just to introduce yourself and why you chose to run this fall.
Great, I appreciate the time and effort and everybody coming here to help out. The campaign has been going very well. It's been a very friendly campaign, and we're doing some really great stuff. We're wrapping up to all the work and set up for the primaries on August 2nd. And I hope a lot of people that are viewing this are actually are going to be out there voting for that. Hope to get through the primary, obviously, to get to the general election. So primary is the first hurdle, and I'm working hard to get there. The reason why I wanted to run in 2014, but my father-in-law entered into a hospice care, and it really wasn't time for my family, and it actually helped me out a lot because it gave me that 2 extra years to continue to educate myself and to sharpen a lot of the skills that are necessary to work down in Olympia. I'm sure everybody in the room knows what TVW. I literally spent 2 years with TVW on my TV.
I'm sorry, I don't know what TVW
oh, I'm sorry.
is.
TVW is a public broadcast station. It's station number 25, I think, on most cable stations. Yep, and it's basically Olympia's BCAT.
Oh, I see.
So
it's the station that broadcasts the events from Olympia?
Just like C-SPAN does for the federal side,
right.
TVW does for Olympia. Okay. And it covers the Supreme Court justices' rulings, penitentiary board hearings, a variety of things. But during the session, the legislative session, which isn't really long, I mean, you're looking 4 months and 3 months on the years, they concentrate on the legislation, the committees, the floor, what's going on in the Senate, what's going on in the House as well. So it's really valuable if you're going to run for a state rep or a Senate seat. It's a very valuable asset.
What's the channel number, Jack?
It's actually, different cable stations. I don't know what you have, but I have Comcast or Xfinity, whatever you want to call it.
Wave cable.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what it was on Wave Cable, but it's 25 on Comcast. And it is called TVW. So that's the name of the.
You can also get it on the internet too.
And it is on the internet too. That's correct. Anyway, getting back to why I'm running. Like I said, in 2014, I got myself set up for the 2016. I've been, unfortunately, because of my career path that I chose, I went into federal service. I was a service member in the U.S. Navy, and then I got out in 2009. I retired, and then I joined the civil service branch of the Department of the Navy. I worked for a Navy agency at the Washington Navy Yard in D.C. So it was a fantastic opportunity. I got to see a lot of the behind the scenes. When you're a service member, you don't know what's going on in behind the scenes just as much as if you're a resident of Kitsap County. You don't know half the stuff that goes on in Olympia. But when I was in D.C., I worked on the budgetary committees for the Department of the Navy, the agency that I worked for, and I also had the opportunity to. I was evaluating defense contractors in their performance on their defense contracts. These are, multi-million-dollar programs. My agency's budget was in the $4 billion range, and that was just one Navy agency. So
what agency was that?
It was called Strategic Systems Programs.
Oh, okay.
It's very instrumental to the naval bases here. They're the ones that deal with the Trident submarines.
Is that what brought you out here?
I originally came out here as a service member. I've always maintained a residence here since 1987.
What did you do when you were active duty?
I was an electronics technician on board the boats and at the shore bases. Most people think the Navy, you have this transitional lifestyle. Because I was working into a very specialized field, I got here in 1987. I retired here in 2009. I spent 1 year in San Diego. I was attached to the Balboa Naval Hospital down there as a patient. I had a medical condition that I needed to get taken care of. It took a little bit. It took 14 months to get it over. So I got some medical devices in my body because of it.
That's not a bad place to be.
No, it was very good. It was a brand new hospital, just opened up back in it was like 89 and 90. So it's a very nice facility down there.
So now you've retired from that second job, the DC job, obviously.
I gave up the DC job to come back home to Kitsap County. I was only going to stay in DC for 5 years. I ended up only staying for 3. And I came back here to work for the Boeing company. Finally, I'm now working outside of the Hatch Act, which means I can't run for political office because of my
Yeah, I kind of
position.
wondered about that, how you were doing that.
So now I work for the Boeing company. I work for as a field engineer rep on the PSNS shipyard as well as the Bangor base.
Okay.
So pretty much staying in the same technical field that I've always worked.
PSN, I'm sorry.
So what was it that,
The shipyard, the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard.
Oh, okay, then.
So,
so what vaulted you into politics?
I've always been politically minded. I followed it being a Democrat on board a submarine, which is normally significantly Republican, even though we're never allowed to talk about politics at work. When you're on a submarine and the hatchery are closed and you have nothing to do for 90 days, you talk. And it gets around the ship very quickly. One of the 7 Democrats on board and stuff like that. So.
Well, is that any different from having 7 women on board?
That I missed.
Just
Sorry.
thinking about that, I'm like, how on earth are they gonna do that? But anyway.
They have to make all these big plumbing changes on the
Yeah.
Trident submarines to let the women come on board,
Yeah.
which I think is a huge mistake.
I
Just
think
because men and
I-
women do what they do, it's horrible for the morale of the service.
I think
There
you're
is
right,
no
actually,
reason.
but-
There is no reason why a woman cannot do any function that I had done in my
That's
years.
not what I'm
I
saying.
understand,
Yeah.
I understand. And the issue of trying to force women on a non-co-ed designed ship is a bad idea. I concur with that. So if I have no problem with women doing the exact same job as what we have been doing for generations. But please design the ship to make it co-ed. I mean, there's a reason why minesweepers are not co-ed, because they're even less space than it is on a submarine.
Huh,
So,
interesting.
but I have absolutely no problem with women doing the work.
Anyway, back to your.
So. Concentrating on why I ran and why I am running. So, been politically active most of my life. Have looked at the 23rd district, who we've had a representative all the way back from Beverly Woods. We have a weak link, and the weak link is Sherry Appleton. I've been tracking her for pretty much since 2010. What she's been doing, what she's not been doing, what bills that she's been submitting in, and I've had difficulty with them. And the work that I did in DC even reinforced what she's been doing, and there's too many loopholes in the bills that she's presenting and stuff like that. So I have no problem with the Democratic Party. I have no problem with the 23rd districts. I mean, Drew Hansen's doing a great job. He got appointed. He re-ran, got elected, had a really good session last 2 years. And Christine Rolfes, I'll never get that name right, Rolfes, yeah. I always reverse the L on the F. She's doing a great job on the education. She's got that task force she's running right this summer. And ever since she went from House Rep to the Senate seat, she really has improved. But we got a weak link, and that's the one I want to attack at, and that's the one I'm running for, which is position 1.
How have party folks responded to that comment from you?
How do party folks? Not well.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're going to challenge the incumbent, I got a lot of, why are you trying to split the party? Why are you doing this? I mean, we have a strong party. And I said, yes, you do. We have a strong party. Kitsap County has been Democratic since Beverly Woods is gone. And it's going to stay Democratic. It's really well. But that doesn't mean we can't improve it.
So what are the weak links? You said that you've been examining the legislation.
Some of the bills that she's come up with.
The loopholes or whatever you're saying.
Right. Well, there's 2 different things. The weak link is the fact that she's submitting bills that will never get passed out of committee or through the floor. She's done that for a number of terms. I'll give you the numbers and the names. Actually, let's do that now. I got a piece of paper here. Unfortunately, I didn't have my book, so I had to write these down. House bill, and anybody can go see these bills. I mean, you just go to the internet. It's www.leg.wa.gov, and just say pick a bill. Find bills. And House Bill 1025 and 1321. These bills are directly related to asking for a waiver option to allow single-payer options to be into the state Medicare, the state medical programs. This is a major issue. I mean, the Affordable Care Act came out. It's fully implemented in 2014. We've been running it for 2 years. And she wants to, in January 2017, set the state up for a single payer option. I'm like, whoa, slow down, slow down. I mean, we're going to be changing the Affordable Care Act quite a bit in the next 2-4 years.
So maybe it needs it.
It does need it. I'm not saying it doesn't need it, but for the state to jump in on a federal program and think that they can do better than let the feds figure it out first. I mean, this is a federal program, nationwide program.
That doesn't mean the states can't implement it to a more effective degree than the federal government.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And most states do pilot programs like that. But to bring in a single payer option, and what she was really bringing it in for was for the undocumented immigrants. There are 600,000 undocumented immigrants that are not allowed to get onto the Affordable Care Act. Sounds great, right? Now, most of these bills are about 5 pages to 30 pages long. They're not written in legalese. They're really composition English, right? So it doesn't, you know, you can read these bills. And that bill, this is where it comes under the loopholes. There are significant contractual things that she's putting in that bill that would force a lot of things down that path unintentionally.
So how does the single payer issue affect the immigrants that you're talking about?
What she is proposing is to allow a single payer option waiver to the Affordable Care Act to allow the 600,000 undocumented immigrants that are not legal citizens, therefore they're not eligible for the Affordable Care Act. Sounds great, right?
No.
If you want them covered. I mean, if you care about them and you want them covered, you know, it sounds like a great
Are
thing.
they legal or illegal?
They're undocumented.
Okay, they're illegal.
Illegal.
And so, okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So I'm not going to, I want to fight that debate, right?
Okay, I just wanted to get that straight.
I understand. So she has good intentions. Get people health care within Washington State. That's a good intention. But in the process, there are not well-defined design requirements in the bill. In other words, I can run an XYZ company under the Affordable Care Act, but now the state has put up a single payer option. I can push all my employees to the single payer option and let the state take care of it.
But isn't that what a legislator has to do, is maybe compromise to get a bill?
Right, but if you don't have your design requirements well defined in the beginning, you're going to go fight that bill year in, year out, term after term, closing all those loopholes that you should have done in the first part.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask it from this perspective. Is there a different process you would take to achieve the same thing?
Correct.
That's what you're.
And that's what I'm driving to.
You're questioning her method.
I'm not questioning her method. I'm questioning her diligence to get a good bill through to the floor. Okay? She is being driven by special interests, whatever. Okay? In trying to get their requirements down. But to get a good bill for the entire state, you have to have design requirements well defined in the beginning. So you build good bills.
Well, I'm having trouble.
Do you see this on certain topics from Representative Appleton? Are there?
Yeah, I'd like another example.
It's a healthcare issue. Are there others?
Yeah.
In certain topics where you see this.
There are certain topics, okay?
Where maybe
and that was the first one that I went on listen. Okay, there's another one called House Bill 1114. Okay? 1114 is to increase online poker gambling.
Increasing?
Increasing access to online poker, online internet gambling, right? So this made it through committee to the floor, back to the committee, okay? Has never gotten through. It's still on the roster, but it has not gotten through the floor readings or a vote.
That doesn't really sound like a Democratic. Why
Well,
is she doing that?
I don't know. You would have to ask her. Now, I can give you my impression of why, but I can't give you any solid evidence.
What's your
of why.
impression?
My impression basically is she's the chairman of the Indian Affairs Committee, and the Indian Affairs run a lot of the casino gambling in the state, and they have a lot of power in the Gambling Commission. So she's increasing one of her major contributors' benefits to
Do they
to them.
benefit from online gambling?
Because the online, okay, once again, I get into the loopholes. of the why when she wrote this, okay? Anybody who runs a bingo, a raffle, or amusement games would have to record and report the profits of those events and pay 5% to the Gambling Commission for Gambling Anonymous, gambling services, right, for those people that got in trouble, and also to the state as income. Okay?
Right.
Like I said, the tribal councils, the tribal gambling commission, the gambling commission and the tribes are obviously very interconnected, and the tribes have a significant power on the gambling commission. Not bad. I mean, they're the ones that are running the casinos. The majority of the casinos are run by the tribal lands and the tribal councils, so which I have no problem with. I mean, that's well established. But to increase that would be very dangerous, and that's why I have a major issue.
Are they in control of online gambling? Or
No,
are
but
the
they
tribes in
they
control
would
of
have
online gambling? Wouldn't that be competition to them?
You would think that, but they're also very, very well written into the Gambling Commission, okay? They have a very powerful voice in the Gambling Commission, okay? And the Gambling Commission would be the ones that would be the overall governing agency for the online gambling. But to think that they are not going to benefit from it, they're going to benefit the most from it, because they have the establishment already established.
Aren't most of the online gaming, isn't that offshore and out of city?
There are a lot of states that actually have, you know,
There's a lot.
if you can have fantasy football leagues that actually are money generated. You can't in Washington State because it's illegal. Okay, so there are amusement game, and that term amusement games, raffles, and bingos. I mean, that hits a lot of spots that were not covered.
What are the things that you would fight? You see some of her bills that she had. What are some of the things that you would get behind and try to change and put as a presence for a bill? Put a new bill out.
Well,
What bills would you?
okay, everybody knows as a freshman House representative, I'm not going to have a lot of bills.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, she's in her 12th year, so I mean, she's in the graduate level, you know. As a freshman House representative, I will sit on committees, I will be assigned to committees, and I'll be happy to sign and work on those committees. But you're right, I'm not going to have a lot of introduction of bills, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be working on the bills in the committees that I'm going to be assigned to, and forcefully pushing people to have defined requirements.
What are your specific interests if you had to decide, if you could decide what committees you'd want to be on, what committees would those be?
That is something my wife and I are still discussing, and after the primary, we were going to actually have that better discussion. So I can't answer that today, but talk to me in 2 weeks.
You don't
So,
know?
well, what about
Do I
big
know or
issues?
do I want to know?
I was going to say, you did have a list here.
Yes.
On some of your campaign flyers. The one that I'm interested in, and I say this.
Can I finish this
Sure,
question
sure,
before
sure.
we go into that? Okay, obviously there are fantastic committees, okay? And there are introductory committees, you know, for people that are coming into the legislation, right, as a newcomer. Obviously, I'm not going to get the Ways and Means Committee, you know. I'm not going to get the Justice Committee. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to get these strong arms.
I'm just trying to find out what your personal interest is.
I would love to be on the budget, okay? That's where my strength is. I'm a statistical mathematician. I can dig down and I can ask the right questions because I've seen it before. I would want to get into the agencies that drive the contracting of other agencies to support government services, okay? Which committee is that? Well, there's a lot of committees that is, you know. So, you know, it doesn't matter what committee they put me on. I'm going to do well because they're going to see what I have to come with, and they're going to put me where they need me. So, you know, it's not that I'm not going to tell them where I have to be. I don't think I have that right. So, you know, I can do good work no matter where they put me.
And I was going to say, that seems that comes from your professional background is what we would put that on, because that's what you did for a long, long time through the Navy and through this federal government. I was curious, you have on your sheet here the support for vulnerable populations, because that has been something Sherry Appleton has done a lot of work on. She likes to campaign on that.
Yes.
So I guess my first question is, do you line up with her on those things, or are there other things you say, we really need to do a little more here? What's your interest in this?
My interest in that is Kitsap Mental Health. Okay? Kitsap Mental Health is really a nice service. It really is. And I've personally used it in my family, okay? they are so strangled because the push from what we need and what we have, and to expand them to a lot more to our community. I mean, I had to basically use, not personally, but my family had to personally use King County's, Seattle, programs, services, provided programs, and because we didn't have them here, okay? Now, what Kitsap Health has given me is a fantastic service in helping my stepson in working through his problems in Kitsap. But what he had to deal with overall to get to where he is today, I had to use King County, and I shouldn't have to.
Is that because of the size, or is it just because budgeting?
I'm sure it's budget.
Okay.
But it's also size. I mean, you think about the population of Seattle versus Kitsap. I mean, there's a significant size thing. But the issue that I had was a chemical dependency, and there is no methadone clinics. They tried to open one up, but it failed for various reasons. But it wasn't because Kitsap Mental Health didn't try. Okay. I put my stepson through the Yakima Chemical Dependency Program in-house, and he came out of that. He got his head on straight, and now he's still under doctor's care, but he's under doctor's care through Kitsap Mental Health and the local doctors in the area in Kitsap.
So
One of the things
clean then, he stayed clean so far.
He's been clean for a while, but he's had a lot of development problems because he was involved in for such a long period of time.
It's an ongoing.
Oh, it is an ongoing thing. I mean, anybody who's been either an alcoholic or chemical dependent or any of the addictions. I mean, it is an ongoing thing. So.
One of the things the state's been directed to do is put more money into Western State Hospital because they've been held in contempt and things. And it's my understanding that that's actually hurt our local agencies because the intention was on the big facility.
Oh, yeah.
How would you, again, freshman, you're right, you can't do a ton, but what maybe perspective or point of view could you bring to that conversation and say, here's what's going on in our community or in the individual counties?
Looking at some of the numbers, basically the mental health, the way we used to do mental health versus 10 years ago versus what we're doing today. I mean, just recent changes. The designation, the inpatient care for like Western Hospital, Eastern Hospital, the state hospitals, versus getting them out of the hospital, getting them under some in-home care, reduce the roles of what they had versus to what they have today by thousands. Okay, we used to have 6 state-run hospitals and agencies. We're down to 4, and in that cutting back from those major clinics and hospitals, we went a little too fast, a little too far, which is fine. I mean, it's a pendulum swing, so to get it right. And what we needed to do is to transfer a lot of the inpatient care from the state hospitals into your communities, into the Kitsap Mental Health, into Seattle Mental Health, and boost those up. What they did is they brought everything down, but they didn't boost up the support for the local communities.
So the number of hospitals, while it's gone down, the problem has gone up.
Correct. But that's because they diffused the problem. And they didn't support those other areas that needed it.
I wonder if you could talk, you say here that you want to see employment opportunities.
Hold on, I need to ask one more question
Okay.
about this, and then we can move on.
He's the
In
host.
He
this,
is.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In Kitsap County, one of the ways that they've been addressing this is through this 1/1% tax.
Correct.
That was applied to
The county commissioners,
Center.
yes.
Mason County did a similar thing, and so that tells me the state isn't handling this, we need to do it locally. Is that an appropriate mix for you? Should there be more of a state tax that we put it
I
into
didn't
that?
plant him, okay? I'm just saying that. The House Bill 1321, that was in that House bill, the one that, I'm sorry, that was the one, the numbers I gave you. That was in there, and because it didn't make it through the floor, the county commissioners took it upon themselves
It was
to
in there.
increase that. It was in the bill.
To do it statewide?
To do it statewide, right, because those bills are statewide. Because the bill didn't go anywhere, because of other reasons, the county commissioners took it upon themselves to get that 1/10 of 1% added to this local sales tax. Like they're very powerful people, and they have that right to do that, to boost that local economy for that reason.
You would have preferred to see it across the state?
Oh, God,
Am I
yes.
hearing this? Yeah. So it's equitable.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
one
if you-
county, one county, one county.
Just because we're fighting the problem doesn't mean everybody else
Right.
doesn't have
Okay.
the problem.
Okay.
We're not that unique. We are unique.
As a legislator, you'll be required to weigh in on various issues, even if it's not in your wheelhouse.
Oh,
And I don't know if this is or not, but on environmental issues, there's a lot of things before the state government. You've got the carbon tax initiative that if it passes, there'll be legislation, or you've got the governor's, cap and trade program, you've got fish consumption rates with water quality. Do you have any issues that you've been doing research on or have positions on the environmental front?
okay, obviously I have positions on everything, okay? But that's me, okay? The whole purpose of being a citizen representative is to bring my voice of my people, the residents of Kitsap County, the northern part, obviously. So, yes, I have, opinions on everything, but I can't take my opinions to Olympia and expect them to be the same opinions of everybody in Kitsap County, okay? So, yes, you work with the cities, the governors, the mayors, the associations, the unions. I mean, IMA was just down the street here. I mean, it's a very powerful union in the shipyard. Okay, they're not in my district. Oh, yeah, they are. People live in my district. Okay, and they have a very powerful voice on the shipyard, and that's what I'm going to listen to because they represent a significant portion of people. Okay, so those are the opinions that I'm going to take down and fight for when I'm at Olympia. I mean,
one of the things that Sherry Hamilton has brought up that her constituents have said was homelessness. What is your take with homelessness in the district?
Homelessness in the district is an issue, obviously. We have some. It's not as big as it is or much of a priority as it is in the cities. The cities mean Seattle, Yakima, and Spokane. So it's obviously a concern to me. And then, as I said in previous forums, there's two sets of homeless, and this is simplifying it significantly. You have the transitional homeless person who's basically, for whatever reason, has lost his job, gone through some financial hardship, lost his home, or is domicile, and is in a transitional stage to get back into a home, all right? Obviously, the services that the state can provide him are easy to push, all right? He's in a temporary situation, he or she is in a temporary situation, or a family is in a temporary situation, then we can just get them back on our feet. Getting them back on our feet, various reasons and capabilities you can do. There are other people that just choose to be out of the system, or for whatever reason have a certain disability that cannot get them permanent work, or put them in an employment situation where they have that continual work basis that they can actually afford a home. Okay, and those are the people that you really need to concentrate on because those are the ones that are going to need the most help for the longest period of time. Okay, and the state legislature is supposed to do that. And I'm not saying that they're not; they are. But it's a significant area, and it's a huge topic that's come across most medias, especially in the city, and it needs to be addressed.
Do you want to ask one more?
Well, I guess
Sorry, he's going to push a little more on that.
Yeah, I wanted to just press you a little bit more. So specifically talking about, you've got two options before the state government. You've got a cap and trade program the governor favors, and you've got a state initiative for a carbon tax. Mm-hmm. And one of them is probably going to be put forth. And as a legislator, you're going to be expected to weigh in.
Correct.
So I'm asking you where you weigh in on those.
Would I weigh into the carbon tax and the cap and trade tax?
Yeah.
Of course I can weigh. The cap and trade tax is distribution across, you're giving a wider distribution across most businesses, industrial-based businesses. The service-based businesses don't usually have that much problem. I mean, you're keeping the lights on. But when you're getting into the industrial bases, whether it's a glass-blowing business that uses cesium or bad chemical or hard metal, the shipyard would be excused because it's a federal place. And how do you draw the line? I haven't seen that well defined yet. Okay, are military bases exempt from this because they don't come under the state rolls? I mean, A military member, a service member, is not even in the labor force as a number until he retires or it comes out, then he's a labor force member. So these are the kind of things that I would want to really well define. And in the cap and trade, I see difficulties with that well defined. Now, the other one is the carbon tax. That's even easier to delineate. You will, these are the limits, and if you exceed them, then you have to, well, that's, no, excuse me, I'm sorry, that's cap and trade. When you buy, when you go to the exchange and you buy for the limitations. The carbon tax is basically set up for, and this is going to hurt the industry, the airline industries, because they're the major polluters of the carbon emissions, because they're running old gas. So, as for which one do I favor? I would not favor cap and trade, because it's an undue strain for the increased enforcement, increased legislation that has to happen, as well as the dictating of just maintaining a database. Where the other one is you will pay the tax. Okay.
You mean it's simpler?
It's simpler, yes.
Okay, well, what about these employment opportunities? You were saying in this that you want to see more jobs in Kitsap County.
Yes.
So what are those?
What are those jobs that I would like to see? I would like to see the expansion of certain light manufacturing. Lynn Horton, who I'm sure anybody who's been in Bremerton for a while, she was pushing a very good, well-defined agenda of how to build up Bremerton from what it was to what it, the stuff that's happened down in the 9 square blocks down here, as well as in some of the areas that she wanted light industry to come in. Unfortunately, she was driven. She was given an ample amount of time to get it done. Unfortunately, most of that stuff was long lead items, and she couldn't get to the end before she left the office. You need that light industry, whether it's in the Bremerton Airport area or any of the other places that are building up for those industries. I got no problem the way Silverdale has been running, not their traffic, but their businesses. They're majorly customer service based. The hospital is expanding out there. It's going to take a little bit out of the Bremerton one down here in East Bremerton, but that expansion is really nice to see. A living wage job, and I covered that kind of a little bit on the League of Women Voters, the difference between a minimum wage job and a living wage job. And that's what I put in my flyer, is that you basically understand the health of a community by the statistics of a living wage job, not the minimum wage job. Minimum wage jobs are very good for entering a career.
Right, I understand that.
Right.
I don't understand what your light industry, could you be more specific?
Light industry is anything.
Such as, well, I don't mean a definition. For Kitsap County, what were you thinking that you would like to see here, like out at the airport, for example?
Right, okay. We have two significant industries in the county, the hospital and the Navy, right?
Right.
There are support industries for those major conglomerates, we'll call them, okay? Doctors need certain services. They need certain medical equipment. We need distribution centers to, if we're expanding the hospital, there's going to be services that are directly related to that expansion, whether it be beds, bed support, medical equipment. All those services can be driven into a business in flight industry. I would definitely support that. The shipyards, Keyport, Bangor, those have been well established, and we need to incorporate businesses that partner with them, that are private industries, that can provide a fantastic service for them, as well as generate jobs outside of the shipyard, but supporting that shipyard. That would be an example.
As someone, I'm going to just follow.
There are other examples.
No, let me stick right on that, because I want to ask about your personal experience with federal contracting. Where do you see, what are the pain points there that you've noticed and you could say, look, this is something where the state could have stepped in?
The state could have stepped in, okay. Now,
okay,
be careful, because if I'm writing legislation, I'm writing it for the statewide, okay? I can write legislation that would, definitely help Kitsap, but that's not beneficial to the state.
Right.
Okay? So I would promote industry, but I can't write bills to.
No, you're correct. Maybe here's a better example. You have a colleague in the 23rd District who's fought very hard for community colleges and getting Olympic College to connect with the shipyard to boost that workforce and spin things off. you've been in a position where you see what the contractor's doing, how they're connecting with our economy and our local bases. Is there something there that we could be doing better to help the economy?
I can't come up with an example off the top of my head right now.
Okay.
Obviously, we can always do things better. No, but I don't want to give you some generic answer. Okay?
No, that's fair. That's fair. It's a
You
spirit.
open up the door with education. The 2-year, of course, OC's big in is definitely with this area and your district too has a lot of.
I'm a graduate from OC.
What do you see, especially with the cuts that are coming, especially with the 2-year colleges and budgets? I mean, across the state has been. Any take on what needs to be fixed and what needs to be changed with higher education?
Obviously, the more important education question is what I have the realm on, K through 12. But to give you an honest answer, OC is doing a great job. Okay, they have been adaptable throughout the entire time they've been here. When they had that one campus in Bremerton, they actually supported the apprenticeship programs. They had supported the service industry base, whether it was automotive. They got out of the automotive, I understand that, but they had the automotive when they needed it, okay? But they've had an adaptable model that grew with the county over the last 20 years. I mean, I think the first course I took from them was back in '92. I mean, it was way back when. And I stuck with it, you know. I used it as a continuing educational structure. I took business classes, I took public speech classes, I took English classes, composition, just to define and refine my talents, my toolbox of experience. Okay, Olympic College has had a fantastic adaptable model. I know I've said that 3 times. That's that Navy instructor to me. Say it 3 times, then test them. And what they've done with Western Washington is great. You know, they brought that nursing program in, but we know we're expanding the hospital. We knew we were going to expand the hospital. They were very foresight, very strategic planning, long-term planning, and they have the ability to see that, and they've been running that program. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But a lot of it is
they're doing well.
Support, though.
Oh, it is.
Support.
Yeah.
But do you see that, even though that's here, that's not the same for, as
It
we
is.
talk about throughout the state?
Absolutely true.
What do you think needs to be fixed throughout to make that example be fitted throughout?
To say exactly what I had already said, to have that forward-looking, long-term strategic planning. If I'm running, okay, I can't be running, but if I'm working at a women-owned business years ago, .com bubble, right? And I got this, you know, marketstreet.com business. I don't know if there is a thing like that. I don't know. But anyway, and I'm running it on a platform of I'm a women-owned business, okay? And all of a sudden, they take away that incentive for women-owned businesses which we had before, and they put a lot more leniency on it. If that was my business model, I lost business. I didn't adapt with the evolutionary change. Okay, the colleges have got to basically look for that long term. What do they need? We saw that when the office of the superintendent went down, talked to Bill Gates, and I think it was Phil Conduit at Boeing, and said, what do you need out of a high school graduate? What do you need out of a vocational school? And they said, I need teams. I need people to come out of high school as a team structure. Now, what the office of superintendent did, I didn't agree with. He put too much focus on teams. They were taking team tests in high school, okay, in math. I mean, how do you take a math test as a team? It was beyond my competence. But they tried, okay? A lot of pilot programs are worthwhile. Some of them will work, some of them won't. Okay? With the idea is to try it out, but to get down that goal to that strategic point.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
McCleary, you make a couple of statements here regarding the added cost to students, teachers, and taxpayers incalculable. Mm-hmm. And then you down below say the justices ruled that simply adding money to the program, to the current system, is not sufficient for the legislature to meet its constitutional duty.
Correct.
Could you explain that in 10 words or less?
Absolutely. The decisions that you make for K through 12 are directly pushed to students, okay? It is a student's job to earn experience in high school. in all secondary education or primary education, right? He is there to earn experience in school, okay? It is the teacher's job to make sure that he earns good experiences in a healthy environment, right? We are failing on those counts, okay? And if you read the McCleary court case, which I'm probably sure you have, it basically, even the justices say, this is not a primary money problem. This is retention of good teachers in school districts. You have school districts that are bringing up and mentoring young teachers all the way through. And the young teachers are getting their experience, and then they're being literally dragged to the good school districts because they have the tool set and the experience that the good school districts are looking for.
Okay, I would disagree with what you're saying.
I understand.
And I would say that money is the primary issue because they have not been able, number one, to come up with enough money to meet the satisfaction of the Supreme Court justices. Mm-hmm. And resulting from that, now the courts are fining the legislature $100,000 a day, or whatever it was, to do this. So in order to get to what you're talking about, the money has to be there first.
Correct.
In the eyes of the Supreme Court.
Absolutely correct. I concur with you 100%. The problem we're having with the legislature is they're disregarding the fact that the primary, I think they call it the paramount duty of the legislature is to fund all kids, documented or not. All children will receive education K through 12.
So are
if they're not doing their first primary paramount duty, I cannot believe that this state is in such turmoil that the state is neither impoverished or in any case and form broke.
So
how can we not fund this?
So you are saying that it is going to take more money to satisfy, I think that's what Jim's asking about. I mean, it's going to cost more, right? So the legislature's going to have to come up with some additional funding.
Absolutely. The legislature has funding. They don't have to come up with additional funding. Okay? That's where I have.
So it's just a reallocation of existing funds?
It's the prioritization of duties.
So they should be taking money. We don't need to raise taxes or get any additional revenue. We just need to reallocate our existing revenue. Is that what you're saying? Because you're saying that they have money.
Let me try this one more way, different way, okay, and then I'll answer. If you still have difficulties with my answer, then I'll try to direct you. Okay, military principle. If you defend everything, you defend nothing. It's a great analogy of the same situation for the Washington State Legislature. They have taken the state revenues that they have collected, and they are trying to pay all these programs, and they're spreading out the money so much to these additional programs, which are not their priorities, all right? And because they're doing that, they can't fund any program successfully.
So you mean outside of education specifically?
Exactly. Such as pet projects, internet gambling, okay?
Oh, okay.
Healthcare, okay?
Healthcare is not a priority. So
Healthcare, okay, if I have a paramount duty, that is the #1 priority, and I'm failing at my #1 priority. Yes, healthcare is secondary to education, even by the state constitution.
Would you go along, the Republicans in the past have suggested an education first budget. Would you be in favor of that idea?
I'm sorry, say that one more time for me.
Republicans in the past have proposed an education first budget, so you fund that first at the beginning of the session. That has to be set.
Mm-hmm.
Then we start talking about everything else.
Okay.
Is that you're kind of describing that
under that principle?
Yeah.
No, I have not read that.
Okay.
Okay. And unfortunately, the education bill is very long.
Yeah.
And I get lost halfway through, just like the transportation bill. Okay. Under that principle, yes, that's what that's what I make, because that is what the state constitution says.
And
K
they're
through
in
12.
contempt
Okay?
for not doing it.
Correct. But we're also contempt in not doing the Western Washington medical illness
Like
program.
you say,
I think there's
establish
three.
your
I think
first
there's a couple.
priority and go after it.
Correct. That is your prime. That is the first.
Are there any specifics that you have of? I get your philosophically. You're saying education first, then we start talking about everything else.
Correct.
When you get to the
That's not my philosophy, that's
No,
the
no,
state
no.
constitution.
And the trick is always in the everything else part, because that's where the fighting and what's gonna last, and what's not gonna last. Are there any that you see and say, we clearly should not be doing this anymore, and that's a place where
Absolutely.
okay.
Money in elections. There are certain people that are, this is not my district, but this is not, it's not against my opponent or anything like that. This is spread throughout the entire legislative branch. You get money from a special interest. I'm gonna keep this generic, because I'm not trying to target anybody, okay? I get money from a special interest, okay? And I do a quid pro quo for that special interest. I'm serious, it happens, okay? That is not. That's the first thing that goes off the list. Okay, come on.
Good luck with that.
Hey, one of the reasons why I'm self-funding my campaign, I have no money coming in except for what I put in, okay? Come on, I put 1% of my salary is my fee to get my name on the ballot, right? That's how much it costs. I've taken 10% of more than that for my budget to the primary election on August 2nd, right? If I'm paying more than 10 to 15% to get elected, you know, either I want to do it because it's important to me, I want to do it with my own money because I believe in the system. If I'm taking money from, I'm not saying that money coming from, you know, as contributions is bad. From the special interests, from the political action committees that you are going to turn around and favor them with legislation that may be valid legislation for their cause. Okay, one of the political action campaigns that I like, not that I took money from it, was the dental one. Dental oral care is a significantly undervalued program in the state legislature. It's not medically covered well. I would like to improve that. Now, if I took money from them, then it would be a special interest? No, it's a good cause, and I'm going to push for it.
Let me ask you this, because I'm reading through the lines a little on your answers, but there definitely, I can sense ways that you conflict with some kind of Democratic Party dogma, I'll call it. Certain things that you conflict with. Tell us,
The mainstream Democrat?
yeah, what I would maybe stereotype that idea, they always want an income tax, or whatever it would be. And I hear you saying
No,
things that are
no,
different.
I am truly a Democrat. I believe in the social programs. I believe in the community support that should be brought back into the community to develop that community, okay? I'm not anti-business, but, you know, I don't think any Democrat would tell you they're anti-business. But, you know, there are rules and regulations that I believe should be indoctrinated and that the state should be responsible for, all right? And that's, you know, that is a very hardline Democratic rule, and that's one that I honestly believe in. I mean, they are here to take care of us.
And I was going to ask you, let me just, the other side of that, because that's where I was going. Like, tell me what it was, the party that you strongly agree with and what you stand for. Is there anything that you see and say, if I walked in there, I'd say, hey guys, we can maybe fix this one. What would you look at your party and say?
Well, the one I just pointed out, the dental insurance. I mean, I really think that the dental insurance in this state is not overall coverage. It's a kind of forgotten child off to the side from the medical because it's dental.
Yeah.
I mean, these are doctors that are trying to fix their patients, that are trying to keep them good oral health. Oral health is a significant problem, especially when you're looking at the significant increase of prescribed medications for certain corrective actions, corrective medicine, right? They produce dry mouth, okay? Dry mouth has lots of unintended consequences as a side effect of whatever medication you're on, okay? Not all medications, but there's a good amount that are out there that people are taking that give them dry mouth, okay? That'll affect your gums, it'll affect your teeth. Anyway, Dennis can tell you more about this than I can. But the simple fact is, it's one of those things that I would definitely concentrate on to get better insurance for the dental branch.
And then the third question, I do this sometimes, the third one that goes in this series
I don't think I
is,
ever answered her question.
the third one that goes in the series is when you look at the Republican Party right now, what's something that you as a Democrat line up? Is there anything there that you say, you know, I buy that idea, I could join up and pursue that?
Oh, God, I'm sure there is. But Jay Inslee's doing the same thing. I mean, he knows that the state revenues cannot continue to be increased through taxes. And he went to the legislature and said, hey, give me a budget within realm of what we already have. And they came back and they said we couldn't do it. And then they came back 2 weeks later and said, oh, wait, by the way, we could. You know, come on, let's get it right the first time.
So,
Fiscal responsibility.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think even in the flyer, it says everybody has a household budget. The state does too. Okay, let's live within that budget. Let's not continuously increase taxes.
See, I wanted to
one more question.
I wanted to ask.
Can I, before we get in there, did I answer your question
Oh, she would have let you know.
with my analogy?
I think so.
The question was basically, how do I fund education?
Right.
You know, the fact is we're diffusing all the taxes across
Right.
too many things.
I think you did answer
Okay,
that.
I'm sorry that.
So I want to go back to, and it kind of goes off what David was saying, and you said it in the beginning. You have Democrats coming at you saying, why are you trying to divide the House? How do you let them see that I'm not trying to divide the House, I'm trying to be the next one up the bat?
I'm trying to strengthen it.
Yeah, but how do you make the party see that because of the future with everybody together? Well, how do you make them see that, with so much of that unity?
I've purposely left the standing members alone. I have not approached Christine or Drew or anything like that because I don't want to divide them between the incumbent and me. I'm not trying to divide my district. I'm not trying to divide the cities to endorse me or anything like that. Sherry Appleton is the incumbent, okay? She deserves the credit that she has put into her job, okay? And because I think I can do a better job, that I can bring more energy into the position, be more active in the committees, be more active into the situation, and get in there and get done and go back to my other job. The old way of thinking. I'm here to support the people in northern Kitsap, central Kitsap, East Bremerton, Bainbridge Island, okay? I will do that for 7 months and 2 years. Then I go back to my other job, and I campaign again, and I move on. So that's what I want to do.
It's actually a great closing statement.
Yeah.
You kind of answered what we ask a lot, but I am going to give you, out of fairness, because we do this with everyone, leave us with one last statement. Is there something we've missed, or in general, what you would say to a voter if they say, why would I choose?
Actually, I have a question for you guys.
Go for it.
The fact that you're videotaping this and putting it on YouTube, I'm sorry, I have no further closing statements,
Okay.
and we'll discuss this off camera. I'm a passionate guy. I get excited. I get feeling behind things. But the simple fact is my opinions are not the opinions of Kitsap County. I'm not bringing my opinions to the House. I'm bringing Kitsap County's opinions to the House. And I'll be talking to the major leaders, once we get through the primary, once we get through the election. And I'm going to use those sources, whether it's the Sons of Norway, the Kiwanis, the Rotary, the VFW, the mayors, the county commissioners. I mean, I have so many assets, weapons in my toolbox to take to Olympia. I'm sure I will not be short of ideas.
Are you in all those groups?
Am I in one of those groups?
All those groups that you just, are you in those groups?
Actually, every group I mentioned, I am not in.
Oh, okay,
Okay?
sorry.
But there are other groups that I am in,
Okay.
and I don't want to sway that in any way.
But you'll ask their opinion.
Yeah.
I will ask everybody.
Well, Jack, thanks for sharing your time with us.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.